What I need is people that put numbers together and let the numbers speak itself. Give me insight, understand the situation. Wait a second. Don't see the results in 1 year. Let's see in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, long term.
Long term.
Long term, exactly.
I like that.
So you really have a strong team to allow you to concentrate on the liquidity event, but also to continue to run the company. Sometimes accept that the business take the lead, because at the end of the day, you have a customer, and the customer pay my salary.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's that.
Yeah, it's true.
Just simple as that.
Every company is aiming for growth. But how much growth can you handle as a CFO? 20%? 40%? What about 60% growth annually? Welcome to the CFO Podcast. My name is Bright Tobin, your host. In this podcast, I sit down with CFOs, CEOs, and thought leaders in Belgium. This week on the podcast, I sit down with Alessandro Mazzocchetti, CFO of Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one platform for business software. This company has become one of the most successful SaaS businesses in Belgium, doing more than 500 million in ARR and valued at more than 5 billion. But this isn't just a growth story. This is an inside look on how the CFO, embedded at the heart of the business, helps steer bold decisions, like price and strategy overhauls, complex liquidity events, and scaling the infrastructure without losing the culture, a critical success factor for Odoo. Alessandro takes us from the early days with founder Fabian to the pivotal moments that shaped Odoo into a global tech force. What emerges is a compelling insight into what it means to be a modern CFO, a strategist with entrepreneurial spirit who is fully embedded into the business. If you are a CFO or finance leader, navigating scale, complexity, or change, this episode will leave you truly rethinking what is possible in your role. Enjoy this fantastic conversation with Alessandro Mazzocchetti, CFO of Odoo. Alessandro, welcome to the CFO Podcast.
My pleasure.
It's a real pleasure being here. It's the first time for me, and I have to say I'm really impressed. I had no clue how big you guys were and are. And I wanted to talk to you because running the biggest SaaS company in Belgium can be a challenge, I guess.
Is it?
But let's take it from the start.
Yep.
Who is Alessandro? What's
Thank
your
you
story?
very much to invite me to host this podcast.
Yes.
With Alessandro. Alessandro is an Italian guy.
I can hear it.
I can hear it, my accent. He's an Italian guy living in Belgium since 25 years. Mm-hmm. Starting his career as a lawyer, completely different with finance, but at the end, law and finance.
We will need to double click on that. I'm very interested.
So the first career was as a lawyer, and then decided back in the days to move from Italy because Italy was too small for him, for me. And then after a couple of years spent in the UK as an M&A lawyer, he decided to come to Belgium. Because of a personal reason, I met a girl. It's typical reason.
It's always
typical reason. It's a typical reason. So I met the girl, and then I stayed in this country because was a nice country. So I decided to change my professional life. Mm-hmm. So I studied finance, and I started again a second career. And then now I realized that with a law background, with a finance background, it's even better as a CFO.
Okay. Can I double click a bit on your story, because it really fits into a couple of questions I have down the line. Yeah. So an M&A lawyer, an ex-M&A lawyer who started his own company and now is CFO. Yeah. Take me through that story a bit. So M&A, I get it. Lehman Brothers, I guess.
Yeah, Lehman Brothers. Exactly.
Can you tell me a bit more what you were doing as an M&A lawyer?
M&A lawyer is a boring job, honestly. That's why I
very important.
It's
very important.
Very stressful. You do a deal, but yes. It's just process. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's just several tasks to come from to start from A to Z.
Yes,
that's why I wanted to change. Mm-hmm. It's very. It didn't passionate me in terms to have an impact.
Sure.
And I think that in finance you have more impact. That's why I wanted to change. And why finance? Because when you do M&A deals, you are dealing with financial side of the deal. And then you like, you dislike. At that time, I did like. And then I wanted to change a bit the side. And that's why I changed in finance. But to be completely transparent with you, I'm a finance guy, but more entrepreneur. Someone that want to have an impact. Someone that want to change things. Even on the finance side, you can do it.
For sure.
Being a real financial business partner.
Sure. You mentioned you set up your own company. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
I sold my company before to join Odoo because I finished my M&A activities, went to Belgium, study finance, learn finance.
So you went back to school to study?
Exactly. Okay.
That's impressive.
Back to school 3 years. And then starting my career with the big companies, American companies. And then, as I told you, I'm an entrepreneur, want to do something, started one business, lost a lot of money, and then started another business, typical.
Yes.
And then I started a business in accounting, a fiduciaire.
Okay, accounting firm.
Accounting firm. Why? I'm not an accountant, but I wanted to give some financial advice to entrepreneur. I would not say that it didn't work. It worked, but was not really what I wanted to do. So I sold my company, and 10 years ago, I was at home saying what I'm going to do next. And after 6 months, my wife told me, no, it's time to get out because I was a big boy. And then she saw an announcement through Facebook saying that OpenERP was looking for the next CFO. I did not even know what it was OpenERP, but was close to my home. So she told me, let's have a look. Let's meet this guy, and then everything started from there.
Okay.
I met Fabian, and then.
Tell me a bit more. Your encounter with Fabian.
The first meeting with Fabian was really amazing. It was awesome because when I came to Odoo, I was with my suite, my financial suite. You know,
as a real Italian guy.
Yeah, Italian guy with a white suite. I don't know if I got a tie. I don't think so. And then I came to the farm, geek atmosphere. And then at the beginning was a bit shocked, but the guy was really cool. At the beginning, the connection was there. So he told me that he wants to build up the best SaaS company in the world. As an entrepreneur, I found this amazing. And he told me I need someone help me to build up from a financial side. And then I thought to myself, it was a good opportunity, so why not?
Okay.
And then move for that.
Interesting. I would like to take you a bit back to your M&A and entrepreneurial side, really to understand how you approached being a CFO, just from the early days. So, okay, you meet Fabian, good click, if I can put it that way, there's a good connection, and you step into the role.
Yeah.
What were the lessons you took from your previous experience that you immediately implemented?
You have to consider that when I joined Odoo, basically I was alone with an accountant.
I can imagine.
So implemented this, what I learned in M&A, which are a deal of 1, 2, 3 billion. It's completely different. Was not really the case. So the situation at Odoo was to have to put the invoice into the system, have the cash in-house, because at that time the company was burning cash.
Yes.
So practically speaking,
you were cash managing.
Exactly. The plan was to do accountant, was to do financial controlling, was to do the financial direction, was to do cash collector, was everything. But this is the passion to create a company, to be on the field. I implemented what I learned from in M&A 5-6 years later, when the company was more mature. And needed a different financial organization. But at the beginning, the challenge was to scale up the company because we switched the business model. We moved from a service company to a SaaS company. The business started to picking up. And after 1 year, the company was running at a 65-70% growth rate, which is very positive. That's really, really quick growth. Absolutely. But from an organizational point of view, you're always late.
Yes.
That's why I told to my guys, manage growth is a job. Because you take a decision today, but you're late, basically.
Yes.
You have to scale a team, you have to skill, the team has to be skilled, it has to be learned,
Take us back to when you joined. What was the ARR of Odoo at that time, roughly?
3.5, 4 million.
Okay.
4 million.
Quite early days.
100 people, 70 people at the farms. I have a picture of that day in my office. 70 people at the farms, 20 people in the US, and 10 people in Hong Kong, that's it.
That's it, okay.
That's it.
And right now, where is Odoo?
Now is $500 million ARR, 6,000 people, 22 offices. 20 offices.
Huge accomplishment.
I mean, the journey was really impressive. And then we continue to scale this business. And then the challenge for me was also to teach Fabian, that finance guy, to have an impact has to become a business partner. And then Fabian wasn't prepared to see the financial function in this way. And this was my personal challenge, to teach him that a financial director, CFO, whatever you call, to really add value has to be a business partner.
Yes.
And I think I succeed to do that. But the beginning was quite tough, because Fabian was an entrepreneur starting a business and thinking that the financial director is an accountant doing a VAT, balance sheet, and that's it, which is not the case.
Absolutely. So I would like to touch on that in a minute, but maybe one step before that. You mentioned just a while ago that growing at 65%, that's a problem. You need to manage
It's
that
a good
growth.
problem.
It's a good problem.
It's a rich problem.
Yeah. It's a luxury problem.
Yeah.
But it is a problem if it's not well managed. Can you take me through your thinking at that time, how you wanted to manage that growth?
Yeah.
And what are the steps, systems? What is your methodology? And also your relationship with Fabian at the time, because I can imagine he just wants to go, which is great.
Yeah.
How do you approach that when you're growing at 65%?
But the first is you are late, and to avoid to be late, you have to put in place a good reporting system. So the first things that I did, because in my previous experience in an American company, reporting was the most important thing.
Yes.
And the American guys are right, because through the reporting, you have the right information at the right time.
The right dashboard.
Exactly.
Yes.
First things I did is to put in place a dashboard. And then the second thing was scaling the team, which is the most important thing.
Maybe quick on the dashboard. What did you have on the dashboard? What were you looking at?
But you think profit is an accounting opinion and cash is a reality. So I'm deeply convinced, I strongly believe that you have to manage cash, especially when you grow by 60-65%.
Yes.
So cash is everything. We are not focused on profit. We were not in the past, we are not today, even if we are profitable. But cash is the fuel for the machine, for the company. So when you want to manage cash, you have to manage cash collection. You have the customer around the world. So the most important part of the dashboard was the cash. And then I remember that back in the days, the guy that was doing cash collection was me, because I was alone. I was not scared about that. If you really want to understand the business, you have to do it by yourself, okay? So for 6 months, I was picking up the phone, calling the customer, saying you have to pay, sending out a reminder, these kinds of things, because, cash is everything.
Absolutely.
Especially at that time, because we just fundraised for 6 million. The money was finished. The business was picking up. You have to manage working capital. Even if the business is picking up, the working capital is there.
You need more working capital.
Exactly, working capital to manage working capital. What most of the people don't understand is you have to fuel the growth with the working capital. So managing cash was crucial. But still today, the first information I ask to my financial controller, the second, the third working days at the end of the month, is what is the cash position, what is the change in cash compared to the previous period? Because at the end, it's all about cash. That's it.
Yeah.
Profit you can manage, you can disclose, you can arrange, you can do so many things, but cash is everything.
Okay, that's clear.
So dashboard about cash.
Yes.
Manage cash collection. And then scaling the team. Recruit people. Recruiting in finance is very hard.
Tell me about it.
It's hard. It's hard because most of the people are in the market as accountant. I didn't want to find an accountant. I didn't want to find a finance guy with a mentality of finance. This is the most important challenge. Either you change the mentality, but it's very strong, it's very hard, or either you found someone that has a good mentality.
What mentality were you looking for?
Mentality of a business partner. Mentality to let the numbers talk alone, not to put the numbers together. Because if you want to put the numbers together, it's quite easy. Today with the AI, you don't need human anymore.
No.
What I need is people that put numbers together and let the numbers speak itself. Give me insight, understand the situation. This is the most important part and most difficult part. So a real business partner to add value by giving a strategic insight from the company.
Oké. Even een korte onderbreking. De CFO Podcast wordt mogelijk gemaakt door Bright Analytics. Bright Analytics is een top SaaS bedrijf dat CFO's ondersteunt in het automatiseren van hun rapportering. Al honderden CFO's in België en de rest van Europa maken succesvol gebruik van hun tools. Ontdek de kracht van Consolidated Management Reporting op www.brightanalytics.eu. Veel plezier met de rest van het gesprek. You mentioned earlier that you had a bit of a struggle with Fabian, convincing him as obviously the entrepreneur.
Show him.
Okay.
You cannot convince him.
Okay.
Show him. Yeah.
You cannot convince him. Okay. At least trying to.
He's a practical guy. He's a quantitative guy.
Of course.
He needs to see.
To see. Okay. The value of having the function of the CFO as a real business partner.
Yeah.
What were the struggles for you? What did you have to show him to make him see where you were trying to take the finance functions to?
I had to convince Fabian that any decision has a financial impact. And if you want to grow the company in the long term, you have to take this financial impact into account. And this was the main difficulties with Fabian, because he thought that growing the sales was the only thing we have to do, or improve the product.
Yes.
But you have to take into account any decision, the financial impact of any decision. Opening an office, buy a building, change the price, increase the direct sales rather than channel, increase the partner networking. Every single decision has a financial impact. I'm not saying that you have to take decision with a positive financial impact, because sometimes this is something I would like to explain.
Please do.
Because people think that if you are not taking into account the financial side, it means that the financial guy is not adding value. No. Your job is to present the financial impact of the decision, but sometimes you have to be able to step back and have the business take the right decision, even if it's not a financial impact decision, positive financial impact decision, but financial is important in the long term.
Yeah.
You know, because if you're taking decision only based on financial, sometimes you're losing the control over the market. Fabian is a product guy. He's right saying in the long term, the best product will win.
Absolutely.
But to improve the product, you need investment.
Yes.
Sometimes you need cash, you need money. If you take into account, you have to take into account you cannot invest in what you want. This is the link between operational, product, and finance.
Yeah.
I would say that I'm an hidden enabler. I let Fabian concentrate on the product without all the financial issues, financial concern, cash concern, investors relationship also. In this way, I think I'm a good business partner.
Okay, makes sense.
I don't know if I was clear.
It's clear for me. I would like to shine a light a bit more about your team back then and now. I think when you started, you had a young team.
Yeah, just one people. By the way,
just to start with that,
very young.
how do you build that team from that starting point? And I think before we started recording, you said that your team members were quite young as well.
Yeah.
In this very hyper growth environment where it's not only move fast and break stuff, but also make sure things are working.
Yeah.
How do you keep that balance between fast growth, but also making sure that your people are also growing?
The big decision I took was to create a FP&A department, a financial planning analysis,
Excellent idea.
and to separate the FP&A from accounting.
Sure.
And that time I started to build up this FP&A because FP&A is the center of finance. It gives you the input, it gives you the data, it gives you the insight.
Yes.
But to build this FP&A department, you need the skilled guys. And then I try to hire them young and
Deliberately?
yes,
Why?
because I think that if you want to have someone with the mentality to work at Odoo as a business partner and close to the business, it's easier to recruit someone young and you can not change his mentality, but to build up your mentality in this way, rather than hire a senior guy with 20 years experience, fine, okay, but with a strong mentality and to change it, it's very hard.
You're right.
But the other side is that if you hire young people, you have to compensate the lack of skill, the lack of experience. And this is my role. As Fabian said, I'm not a manager, I'm a team leader. My only job, easy to say, not to do, is to let them evolve.
Yes.
Okay? Challenge them, put them out of the comfort zone, and this is my job. So to compensate the lack of skill, the lack of experience, and the lack of maturity sometimes. That's why I'm the older guy in the company today. And I think that a CFO has to be not the older guy in the company, but has to minimum have 20-year experience if you really want to run a company at this level. Huh?
Yeah, sure.
$500 million company.
Sure. Odoo has had quite a number of, I'll call it liquidity events, and
6.
6 liquidity events. That's interesting.
Yeah.
What has been the key lessons if you look at all 6 of them for you?
There are a couple for sure, because the last one was really hard for me.
Why? Why was it hard?
But it took me 6 months. And then the problem is that we are doing a liquid event at this level, 5 billion valuation.
So Odoo is now valued at 5 billion.
5 billion valuation.
5 billion.
5
okay.
billion last
Impressive.
time. Okay. You do this on a daily basis, but you don't have to forget that the business is not doing a liquidity event. The business is running the company. And it's really difficult to do the two things at the same time. So my first lesson is that you really have a strong team behind you to allow you to concentrate on the liquidity event, but also to continue to run the company.
Is it the same team doing this in your case?
Yeah, it's the same team, the FP&A team. This time the team was very good, but a little bit too small. That's why that I increased the team by 5 people now, because I expect a new liquidity event. This is my first lesson. That you really need a strong team in place to support you, because it's a very, very intensive job. Second lesson is that you don't have to hire a bank, because it costs you a lot. But I don't think it brings you a lot of value compared to what you pay.
Why not?
Because at the end of the day, you are doing the job. At the end of the day, you are selling your company. At the end of the day, you are contacting your investor. The bank indeed supports you to do a presentation, to do the deck. But I'm not convinced of the add value, especially with the price. So this is my personal lesson.
Fair enough.
I don't know if some banker see this podcast. It will not like me, but it's the truth.
You're telling you
Exactly
that's
true
what
I'm
I'm
thinking.
That's fine.
And third one, I would say that a liquidity event is really big project. So you have to prepare it and not just say, tomorrow we start a liquidity event. And sometimes if you are not prepared in terms of data, in terms of reporting, you have to imagine that when you go for a liquidity event, you have 10, 15 different investors in front of you. Each of them has a bunch of young guys. They are doing analysis every single day. So we have so many requests. So you have to prepare yourself in advance.
Yeah.
This is my third lesson.
What triggers a liquidity event?
What do you mean the trigger?
So you've had 6.
Yeah.
What triggered
Liquidity is-
4 to 5? Is it more growth? Is it something else?
No.
If you're comfortable, obviously, talking about
No,
this.
indeed. Normally, a trigger for us is that an investor want to sell his stake
Okay.
because we don't have any primary investment because of profitable cash
Yes.
cash positive. So a secondary exit basically. So
Okay.
in this scenario, last year, Summit decided to sell a portion of their stake, and they have almost 20% of the company. So in the future, they have to sell.
Yes.
And then the guy who would buy have to sell in the
To
future
sell, of
also.
course.
So
Yes.
we don't want to go for an IPO. Because
Is that a deliberate decision?
a deliberate decision, and I completely agree with Fabian.
Okay.
Because you go for an IPO when you need money. We don't need money. Branding, okay, you can get some branding for an IPO, but we can get branding in another way. But if you see all the constraint, all the obligation you have with an IPO,
huge compliance.
It's
Yeah.
huge compliance is not really positive for us, especially with our company. We are a company culture. We do not have an industrial exit because Fabian doesn't want to sell the company. He's committed in the long term. So we have to be ready to have several liquidity events in the future.
Yes.
And we were fully supported on this. But I have to build a team to support that.
Yes.
That's why.
Okay. You've had obviously a couple of liquidity events you just mentioned, and I can imagine the relationship with Fabian going through all these liquidity events. It forms the relationship between the CEO, founder, and the CFO. What has been the most defining moment for that
I will not
relationship?
say during the liquidity event because, as I told you, I'm a hidden enabler. I'm normally doing the liquidity event alone, from A to Z. Fabian jump in at the end, just to speak with a new investor. But he has the comfort to focus the business, to focus the product, without any noise of this liquidity
It's called
event.
trust. He trusts you.
Absolutely,
Of
trust
course.
me.
Yeah.
He knows that I'm doing the right job. This is a lot of responsibility for me, but also a lot of satisfaction. Okay, so I'm running this liquidity event alone. But to jump to your question, I think the moment in which we really built up a strong relationship was 3 years ago when we changed the price. For us, the price change was a huge momentum. We decreased the price. And then to do that, we have been discussing a lot internally with the commercial director, with the CTO, with a lot of analysis. And that time we will build a lot of connection between us, because to decide whether or not increase, decrease the price, we had several scenarios.
Let me just be the fly in that meeting room. As an ex-finance guy, decreasing the price is something that I will be very, very, very careful
You have
with.
to be bold.
And you really need a strong business case.
Yeah.
Without giving too much away, obviously, that's not what I'm looking for, is how do you go through that process without being the police person in that room, but how do you become an enabler? Because as a person who was not in that meeting, or those meetings, but being an interested person in the company and being on the sideline, that was a bold move.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you go around with that as a CFO?
You have two approach. The finance guy, typical finance, old school finance guy approach, saying, no, guy, you cannot decrease the price because the bottom line will be it. We decrease the margin, blah, 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 blah. This is typical guy that is a finance director. Very good at his place, but also business partner. You don't have to forget that your role is to be at the service to the business.
Yes.
Okay? Means that you have to put yourself in the customer's shoes and the operational shoes. Means that to decrease the price today can generate a decrease in terms of EBITDA and margin, but in the long term can be more beneficial.
Yes.
And this is the change in your mindset that you have to do if you really want to be a partner. You have to put yourself in the operational customer sales shoes, saying, wait a second, don't see the results in the 6 and 1 year. Let's see in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, long term. In this case, you can really play a crucial role. So your role is to validate the mechanism, to validate the impact, and to see if from now, in 5 years, this decision is a good decision from a financial perspective or not. Not today, in 6 months, 1 year.
Long term.
Long term.
I love that.
And sometimes accept that the business take the lead, because at the end of the day, you have a customer, and the customer pay my salary.
Yes, that's true.
At the end of the day, it's that.
Yeah, it's true.
Just simple as that.
Yeah. How do you balance the day-to-day of the business with, I'm not talking about liquidity event, of course, but with a big picture? How do you do that in such a fast, because you're not growing at 65, but I think, 40, that is still a very huge growth figure. How do you balance these two things?
But look, I like strategy, but I don't want to be a too much strategy guy, because I think that if you really want to have an impact, you have to know the business. So you have to be on the field. Generally speaking, I'm quite hands-on CFO, working closely with my team. I want to be aware about not everything, because it's not possible.
No.
But a lot of details, even I'm not taking any decision on a micromanager level. I want to have not the control, but I want to be aware about the details to have the global picture. But I like to be really on the field, working with looking the system, how much cash I have, and not asking to someone to bring me the cash situation, because I don't want to lose the control about the business. Okay. And if you want to avoid this, you have to be today, every day, hands-on on the business.
Yeah. In the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned that your focus at the very beginning, when you were growing at 65%, was obviously cash. Yeah. Makes sense. What is your dashboard right now, if I may ask?
Still cash.
It's still cash.
We have 45 million of fixed cost.
Okay.
Means that we are not the variable, it's a fixed cost. If you don't want to, not say going bankrupt, but have some noise in terms of growth, you have to manage cash. So today is different because they have 20 different subsidiaries. Yes. So I have to manage cash for 20 different subsidiaries. Yes. But today, for me, the priority is cash, and then the ARR, which is the metrics for the SaaS.
Of course.
But still cash.
Amazing. Great. Looking ahead, we're looking ahead a bit. What are the mega trends that you as a CFO are actually paying attention to?
By managing data, for sure. I think we have a lot to do to manage data, because we have a lot of data within Odoo, but we are not able to today to use all those data to get some insight from the business. Managing the AI. AI is so big, big impact, especially for finance. And then continue to scale the business, because we're going to open another 5-6 different subsidiaries in the long term. So opening a subsidiary is a big exercise.
Yes.
So managing the growth, I would say. This the three main topics for the next 3 to 5 years. But AI is 6 months, 1 year, I think. It's very fast.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome,
I think
my pleasure.
Was really an interesting conversation. I always end with the same question. What are the passions you have?
Passion. If you want to have a passion, you need time.
Sure.
I don't have a lot of time. So first, I give my free time to my family. But after that, I try to free up something for me. And I like racing car. I'm racing.
You mean racing?
I'm racing.
Okay.
I'm a racing
what kind of car, if I may ask?
It's a Porsche.
Okay. You like speed?
Yeah, I like speed. And then...
on racetracks?
On racetrack.
Okay, interesting.
So I'm a dummy, I'm just a Rocky. But he helped me to get out the stress of the daily work.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Love it. Thank you for your time. Really interesting conversation.
My pleasure.
And see you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.